All right, we're interrupting your regular programming to continue to follow this breaking news that we're bringing you. A verdict has been reached in the Josh Duggar child pornography trial. Now, after several hours of deliberation, the jury found Duggar guilty on both counts of possessing and receiving child pornography. We've been covering this trial all week long. We were out there as soon as it happened. So this morning, now after it's happened, the prosecution is planning to speak. We're going to take that live press conference right now.
To join in this announcement of a guilty verdict in the case of United States versus Josh Duggar. This case represents a significant milestone for the Western District of Arkansas in our continued efforts to combat child abuse. Those who would say that children who are photographed and videoed in a manner similar to the evidence in this case are not abused and are not victims are clearly wrong. Children who are photographed and videoed in manners such as this are the victims. And every time their videos and photos are traded online, uploaded and downloaded from the internet, they are victimized all over again, every single time that happens. This case it represents a milestone for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that it demonstrates that this work is very important. And our office has expended the resources necessary to combat child abuse in Western Arkansas. You can see how significant cases like this are to our office. In 2020, over 7% of the cases that were sentenced here in Western Arkansas were either child abuse cases or child pornography cases. That demonstrates that we are in this fight for the long haul, and we will continue to expend all the resources that are necessary to protect the children in Western Arkansas. I'd like to take this opportunity to extend my deepest gratitude and my most highest appreciation for our trial team in this case. And I'd like to speak for a few minutes about them. Carly Marshall is an AUSA in our office, and she has dedicated her career to prosecuting child abuse and child pornography cases such as this one. And she currently serves as the chair of our Project Safe Childhood Committee, which is focused on seeking out cases like this one, prosecuting individuals who would demonstrate the propensity to trade child pornography and abuse children in this manner. I'd like to also extend my deepest gratitude to Dustin Roberts. Dustin has been a long-time AUSA in our district. Dustin was instrumental in helping to set up the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. That task force was responsible for bringing this case, and their efforts should not go unnoticed. And Dustin has also dedicated his career and is an outstanding AUSA in this area of prosecuting child abuse cases and child pornography cases. I'd also like to thank our partners at the Department of Justice in the Child Exploitation section. Bill Clayman is a trial attorney in that section, and he did a tremendous job, and his efforts are rewarded with this guilty verdict here today. He traveled to our district many times, and his expertise in this area is really beyond question. James Futrell is a computer expert, also with the Child Exploitation section at the Department of Justice, and his hard work is again reflected with this verdict. And we deeply appreciate our partners at the Department of Justice for stepping up in this case, for helping to make sure that the case is investigated and prosecuted in the right way. I'd like to just close with a couple of thoughts. First of all, I said at the beginning that this case was a milestone for our efforts to combat child pornography and child abuse in our district. It's a milestone for a lot of reasons, but a couple of the most important ones that come to mind is that it first and foremost shows that no person is above the law, regardless of their status in society, regardless of their wealth, regardless of their fame. This case shows that no person is above the law. This case also shows us something else. It shows us that this work is very hard. This was almost a 2-week jury trial, and the people that I thanked spent countless hours preparing this case, investigating this case, and making sure that this is the result that we're here to talk about today. But the third and maybe most important thing that this case shows us is that this work is worth it. It is worth it because these are the types of cases that help us accomplish our goal of protecting the children in the communities of Western Arkansas. And finally, last but not least, I'd be remiss without extending my deepest gratitude also to the staff in our office in Western Arkansas. Nicole Times and Mandy Salazar and Laura Johnson and so many others have spent countless hours helping us prepare this case for prosecution, helping this trial come about. And truly, our staff in the Western District of Arkansas is the backbone of everything that we do. We couldn't be here today if it weren't for them. And so I'll turn it over to my colleague at Homeland Security.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Billy Riggins. I'm the resident agent in charge here in Fayetteville, Arkansas for Homeland Security Investigation.
All right, just to recap, we were listening from the prosecution team. They're just calling this a
Office for all their work during this investigation and during the case. I would like to thank our state and local partners as well as the Department of Justice. Most off, I would like to thank our HSI special agents here in Fayetteville, Arkansas that have worked tirelessly during this investigation and is the reason why we are here today. One of Homeland Security Investigations, or HSI's top priorities, is to protect the public from crimes of victimization. And HSI's Child Exploitation Investigations program is the central component of that mission set. HSI is a global leader in the investigation and dismantlement of child exploitation and criminal activities surrounding child exploitation. HSI protects our most vulnerable population, our children. And in doing so, it ensures that we bring online predators to justice using cutting-edge technology. HSI is committed to utilizing our vast authorities, international footprint, and strong government partnerships to identify and rescue these child victims, identify and apprehend the offenders, prevent international child sexual abuse, and help make the internet a safer place for our children. HSI personnel around the world work tirelessly to protect our children from exploitation by child predators. Who are involved in the production, distribution, and possession of child sexual abuse material, and who travel internationally to engage in illicit sexual contact with minors. Because of the exceptional efforts by these HSI special agents, computer forensic analysts, and our law enforcement partners, a child predator has been brought to justice. Every time child exploitation imagery is shared, downloaded, sent via email, saved, there is a victim. And no matter what the individual's notoriety, influence, position, again, this verdict demonstrates that no one is above the law. HSI agents make it a priority to protect children by investigating these offenders and ensuring they pay for their incomprehensible actions. With that being said, we can't do it alone, so we ask for your help. We ask for the public's help. If you see something, please say something. If you wish to report suspicious activity, for instance, of child sexual exploitation, please call us. We need your help. You may do so by calling 1-866-DHS-2423. Again, that's 1-866-DHS-2423. Thank you.
Just one more quick thing. I did mention the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. I wanted to explain just a little bit more about that. This task force is made up of state, local, and federal agents throughout Western Arkansas, whose only purpose is to investigate and prosecute cases. Also receive our deepest gratitude and appreciation, especially Special Agent Jerry Faulkner, who was the lead agent on this case, and I know that you've all heard him testify and seen the great work that he did in this case, but we do deeply appreciate all of his efforts as well. With that being said, I'd like to open it up for questions at this time.
I have a question for the prosecutors in this case.
Sure.
Mr. Roberts, you called the theory of boogeyman. What did you make of how much the defense went in on remote access by the end? I mean, you guys seemed pretty incredulous that that is where their case rested.
Well, the entire case was made up on the premise that given a reasonable view of the evidence, there could not be any other conclusion that Josh Duggar did this. They took a section of that, the only section that they could make some headway, and they tried to exploit it to the as far as they possibly could. That was simply the defense. That's what they had to work with. They did a good job working with the evidence they had. They just didn't have the entire understanding or the entire ability to explain all the events that would line up with that defense. Yes?
Will this ultimately be one count or two? As
I'm sorry, Ron?
Will this ultimately be counted one count or two at sentencing?
Ultimately, it will be one count, receipt of child pornography. Possession of child pornography is a lesser included offense for receipt of child pornography. So by function of law, you cannot be convicted of both.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Were you surprised at all when you found that the number of witnesses at the end?
Not surprised, no.
Anything else? All right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.